There's an invisible line running through the United States. You won't see it on most maps. There's no fence, no wall, no border crossing. But this line quietly divides the country in half. On one side, farming works one way. Cities grow differently. People make different choices. And this division didn't start with politics. It didn't start with culture. It started with geography, more specifically, with water. This is the story of the invisible line that divides the United States. To understand this line, you have to understand how rain moves across North America. Most of the moisture that feeds the United States comes from the Gulf of Mexico and the Atlantic Ocean. Warm, humid air travels westward across the continent. But air doesn't move forever. As it travels inland, it slowly loses moisture. Eventually, there's less rain left to fall. Around the center of the country, something critical happens. Rainfall drops below the level needed for reliable farming. Not a little, enough to completely change how the land behaves. In the late 1800s, settlers didn't know this. They assumed the land would behave the same everywhere. It didn't. In 1878, a geologist named John Wesley Powell noticed a clear pattern. Farms east of a certain boundary survived more often. Farms west of it failed again and again. Powell realized the country was split by rainfall, not by state lines. He identified a rough boundary near the 100th meridian. East of this line, average rainfall was high enough to support crops naturally. West of it, farming required artificial irrigation. This wasn't a political opinion. It was a physical limit. Cross that line, and the rules of survival change. When water is predictable, people take risks. They plant more. They build closer together. They depend on shared systems. Failure is survivable. But when water is scarce, risk becomes dangerous. In dry regions, one bad season can destroy everything. That forces long-term thinking. Planning ahead isn't optional. It's necessary. Over generations, this shapes behavior. Not because people decide to be different, but because the environment rewards different choices. Geography doesn't control people, but it quietly pressures them. Over time, these environmental limits shaped something very visible. Where people live, east of the invisible line, the land could support more people. Farming produced consistent food. Cities grew closer together. Population density increased naturally. But west of the line, the land imposed strict limits. Water shortages capped how much food could be produced. They capped how many people could live there. Even today, vast areas of the western United States remain sparsely populated. Not because people didn't want to live there, but because the land couldn't support them without massive intervention. This is why the eastern half of the United States holds the majority of its population. The invisible line doesn't just divide land. It divides how many people that land can carry. Behavior repeated over time becomes habit. Habits repeated across generations become culture. That's how geography turns into mindset. The land doesn't tell people what to believe, but it influences how they solve problems, how much they cooperate, how much they rely on themselves. These differences slowly spread into economics, city design, and institutions. By the time politics enters the picture, the foundation is already there. Today, the invisible line still exists. You can see it from space. Satellite images show greener land to the east and drier terrain to the west. Population density shifts. Infrastructure changes. Water laws become more complex. Even modern conflicts over resources follow this pattern. Technology has helped push against the limits, but hasn't removed them. Now comes the unsettling part. Climate change is altering rainfall patterns. Dry conditions are slowly moving eastward. Areas that once depended on reliable rain are becoming unstable. The invisible line that shaped America's past may be reshaping its future.